Yo, what's going on? We are back with another episode of the Unsilent Church Podcast.
You're back.
I'm back.
Hey.
What up, man?
John back.
It's good to be back, man. Back like we never left.
Hey.
How's the paternity leave? How was the time with the baby?
It was great, man. Good baby. She sleeps through the night. I love it. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah.
Right now.
Twice on Sundays.
Yeah, we drop bombs because the baby dropped.
Yeah, man,
you know what
drop
I'm saying?
that crew bomb. But listen, man, we got a couple different things we want to talk about today. We got the crew in the building. Pastor V, what's the first topic we're talking about today?
Yeah, we got a kind of a grab bag of things we thought would be good to toss around. And the first thing that we wanted to talk a bit about, this is inspired by an Instagram post from it's about 7 weeks ago. Naomi Osaka.
Naomi Osaka.
She is a tennis player who is of Haitian and I think Japanese descent. Mm-hmm. And she was responding to a French lawmaker saying that the United States should return the Statue of Liberty, which is kind of funny. But
for their injustice, they say.
Exactly. But she really flipped it back on them and sort of confronted France, saying, what about France returning Haiti's stolen money?
Hey.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with this or weren't aware of this, and this kind of thing, like everyone should know about, it's incredibly shocking. Haiti was a slave colony and really was the first successful slave revolt. The Haitian slaves, the enslaved peoples, successfully overthrew the French, who were the ones enslaving.
They had a revolution. That sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm putting air quotes. Didn't America have a revolution?
That's right.
Don't we celebrate that? Right?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're clear on like what we're describing.
Yes.
There was a situation where there was tyranny.
Yeah.
Actual
But
tyranny.
not just taxation with representation.
It ain't just
was
a
way
cool,
more than
catchy
that.
quote.
Yeah.
It wasn't just taxation without representation. It was
human
actual enslavement.
Wow.
Forced
Foreign country
labor.
on top of Haiti. A quick history. Haiti had an indigenous population. European powers take over the colony, essentially wipe out most of the indigenous population and import African slaves. It was brutal conditions, one of the worst places to be a slave in the New World. But amazingly, stunningly, they revolted successfully and overthrew the French and won their own independence.
So
Great,
Haitians,
wonderful. Yeah.
Haitians it sound like Haitians were about that life.
They were about that life, but
Like they was
the rest of the world made
Really
them pay.
outside.
Yeah.
The rest of the world made them pay. This is
You
the
ain't gonna
history.
punk us.
Now, when we say the rest of the world, who are we talking about?
So what happened was France basically said, all right, if you're going to they won, but France basically had the power to say we could come back and impose a blockade or basically
we'll
make
just keep coming back.
or really
Make it really hard
block
for
you from being part of the world economy.
Isn't that crazy?
Unless you pay reparations to us. So get this. So France is basically saying you are our property. You revolted against us. We lost money. You need to pay money to us.
That's
In
wild.
order to be accepted in the world economy. And here's what made it successful. All the other countries of the world backed France in this, including the United States. Why did the United States back France in this? Because the United States did not want their own enslaved population to get any ideas.
To do the same
Right?
thing.
It was very clear that like they said we this is not a good thing to have this idea of enslaved people being able to take over and establish their own countries. That could happen here. And so
That's crazy.
the rest of the world essentially banded together to say, yeah, we won't do trade with you. We won't accept you as a nation, et cetera, unless you sort of agree to the stipulation. And so Haiti basically was in severe debt from the beginning of its life. And so a lot of people look at Haiti and look at this poor country, go to the problems, et cetera. And look, there's some problems that were self-imposed, but so much of it starts with the fact that here was a fledgling country just starting off with huge debt. It just affected almost everything else that happened after this. Wow. Here's an interesting detail about this. So Haiti only paid off the debt to France, I'm going to say in the 40s or so. It was in the 20th century, right?
It was the equivalent of $500 million.
Yeah. And on top of this, here's another nice little detail here. So it's funny in reference to the Statue of Liberty. I here's another significant monument that's in Paris, right? You guys familiar with the Eiffel Tower?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, been a couple times.
The bank that financed the Eiffel Tower was the same bank that received the money from Haiti. So, if you know how banks work,
bro, come on, dog, talk to him.
Are you serious?
Yes,
bro.
The money,
it's in the money. It's in the
Tower,
money.
So the way banks, I mean, they have money that they use to then pay for and finance other things.
Sure.
So really, there's a very clear link between the money that Haiti paid in order to be a free country to France that built the Eiffel Tower.
So Haiti, that's Haiti's Eiffel Tower.
Technically,
that's that. Haiti owns that.
Haiti finance.
That's wild. I did not know that.
Help finance it for sure. I mean, I don't know if there's other financing.
I didn't learn this in school. This is
so
wild.
what's interesting is I think was it Marsan, the recent the current French president
Macron,
yes, has admitted, that was an injustice, etc. So there's some knowledge of this in France, but whenever they sort of push and say, well, maybe you should start paying that money back to Haiti, you're like, well, it's complicated and they don't have a government now and blah, 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 all this other stuff, right? There's always sort of a way around
That's
it.
always how it happens. It's like, oh, they're not.
Yeah.
Which is a nice segue into, maybe we're not done here, but it's interesting how there's always this sense in which French Western powers build this narrative around African nations, diaspora nations, not being able to govern themselves, not being able to handle their own colonies, handle their own sort of handle themselves.
Yeah.
When it's like, hold on, wait, but in the history of the world, everybody has to work out through that. Again, America had a revolution and we celebrate that, right? We celebrate the idea that we fought for our independence and then go on to try to build an economy on top of that. But then when we look at African nations doing the same thing, call it Haiti, call it anyone else, we then say, oh, there's a problem with that, right? We then try to say, oh, no, I don't think it's time for us to move out or take out our influences or let them sort of build and support that independence. Yeah. The same way that we want everyone to support ours, because again, in some way or another, there's this sense of, no, we need that free labor so that we can generate more profits for our own economies.
It's also interesting, sort of another thread on this is just the whole concept of, we say reparations, but essentially repair. Here's a wrong that was done, and what are we doing to repair it? And there's a lot of controversy, certainly in our country, about are reparations needed for our past, et cetera? It's been too long. But I do think just the general concept of it has been done, and it's been interesting when it gets leveraged, right? So there's a similar thing that happened in our country to what happened with Haiti, this idea that
40 years apart.
Yeah, so slave owners lost money here in our country, and there's a history of the American government paying them back, right, in the wake of the Civil War.
$300 for every enslaved person.
Exactly. So is that okay? Wow. So
that was the number.
Okay. Well, I was wondering what it was. So
up to $300.
So think about this. Yes,
for every enslaved person.
You're in the South. You lost the Civil War. It was you lost all those people who had in slavery are free, and because this is such a loss, right? Because they're your property, we're going to pay you.
That's crazy.
And it gets interesting to match that with, at the same time, there was a push for, we also need to empower those who were enslaved, because look, they have nothing. So this is where the 40 acres and a mule type of understanding happened. But during Reconstruction, that never got really fulfilled, because the North Army moved out of the South and sort of let the South govern themselves.
Handle it themselves.
Exactly, handle themselves. And without the Northern Army enforcing that, all that went away, right? But the money that the Southern slave owners had, that didn't go away. They got what they
made sure they got theirs.
Right. But those who were enslaved and, as we say, basically we're starting from ground zero with nothing, had to make their way. Now,
we're starting with a negative, if you will. Right?
I mean, it just speaks again to the resilience of, I think, of Black people in this country, and even with that, the way in which they're able to find themselves and build communities and flourishing communities, even with all these sort of things being thrown at them. But I think just that it's interesting, especially as Christians, sort of this basic principle of, the story of Zacchaeus is a really interesting one to me. When people sort of struggle with just the general concept of it. Now we can get into like what's the best way to implement it, et cetera. I'll do all the details on that all day long. But I have a hard time sort of people resisting the general concept that like, hey, part of a restoration process could be repair. The story of Zacchaeus is interesting in that Zacchaeus is a tax collector. He's been cheating people, who knows for how long, right? Tax collectors back then were
He's been taking more than he's supposed to.
Yeah, that's what tax collectors back then. You pull the taxes to give to the Roman Empire, and he's doing this to his own people because he's Jewish. You would always get extra for yourself and keep for yourself. He's rich off the backs of his people.
They call that brokering.
Yeah, so Jesus visits him, has dinner with him, and his encounter with Jesus changes him. Praise God. But it's interesting what he says. If I'm remembering this right, he says basically, I'm going to...
If I have defrauded, I will pay them back fourfold.
Fourfold. But like, if you think about this, I mean, he's been doing it for years. I don't think we should take that as like he's going to try to track down every single person that he's done. I think it's just a general like,
I did wrong.
I am going to offer repair, just generally speaking, right, to all the peoples of this village. I mean, my idea here is that it wasn't so much like, well, it was the people I heard. They're not around anymore. This is just a child of the family. I think the sense of this is that I'm going to take what I have and give even more to communities and others all around me.
Yeah, to heal where there was harm. It seems like every time the conversation about repair or reparations and the case for it comes up, there's this resistance to heal where harm was done. Yeah. And so I always
want the conversation. That's the thing. I think I have a hard time people not exploring or understanding the idea that this idea of repair is a good one and an important one.
Yes, but again, the biggest issue I have is that when it comes to the economy, it seems much, much easier to understand. When there's a loss of money, people go, pay it back. When there's a loss of life, there's silence.
Yeah.
That seems to be a really interesting thing. It comes up every single time.
It seems like the idea that, at least, in America and even worldwide, is money is people's gods. It's an idol for them. And Jesus has something very interesting to say. You can't serve God and money. So when you say that, when it comes to the economic, like, that's their God. And so they're going to do everything they can to kind of worship, if I can use that language, that God.
Again, we have the conversation a lot when we've gotten into election cycles, about who and why. And oftentimes, many people who have been against even the current administration, it's been for the reason of life. It's like, hey, there doesn't seem to be a value on certain kinds of life. The immigrant, the poor, the marginalized, the classified minority, right? It seems like, and again, you look at all the attacks where the money's being cut, what's being cut. It affects those who technically have been historically on the margins. But in so many cases where there's an argument for why it's a decent administration, the argument has historically been, oh, but the economy's so much better. And if the economy's better, everything is better, right? Which we know that just isn't true, right? Yeah. But that seems to always be the thing, like, oh, money will solve the problem. Money will solve the problem. But in reality, it's just like, no, that's not the way money works, right?
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that's worth talking about some more. I mean, I think there's. I just encourage people to sort of pull the thread on this when you realize how much of our history in these sort of topics of, when slavery was around and some of what happened in the wake of it and how people responded or didn't respond.
And the lingering, persistent effects of it.
Yeah.
Right. That's why people talk the way they talk today. The effects still linger.
People focus on like, oh, well, the Emancipation Proclamation, they were freed, and that's it. And don't realize like all the other things that needed to happen, some of which it did and a lot of it didn't. Part of the reason why you then had 100 plus years of Jim Crow, because of the failures of what they did in the wake of the Emancipation Proclamation and the end of the Civil War.
Actually making people equal. They're doing the same thing right now in other places of the world. But let's move on.
Another interesting topic. I think, John, you sent this to us. This is interview that Bill Gates did, and Bill Gates is an interesting guy to think about. He's predicted a lot of things pretty accurately over the years.
We need to listen to Bill. I don't know what's going on. Bill knows something,
and so
it might be because Bill is involved in a lot of it.
So he basically, I'll just sort of summarize the interview. He said he's predicting that artificial intelligence could essentially reduce our work week to just 2 days a week. Right now, it's a 5-day work week for most people, 9 to 5. Give or take. In this interview, it was on the Tonight Show. He basically suggested that eventually most jobs could be done better and faster through artificial intelligence. So we're talking about, and don't just think like construction jobs, like think like doctors, teachers. A lot of these things could be filled by AI. That like AI could probably imagine a time when you tell your symptoms to the AI and it immediately accurately diagnoses what's going on and prescribes what you need to do. So he's basically saying once AI reaches what's called artificial general intelligence, which means that AI is as smart or smarter than human beings, is able to do things, think of things better than humans can. He imagines that basically just a few jobs will be left for humans. So be the things that we want to keep. So probably sports. There's a difference between watching computers play basketball and humans, right? So that's, you can imagine sports will still be around. Anything that's creative, right? And so anything that you want to sort of maybe watch it, maybe art, public speaking, all those type of things where there's something.
Imagination just can't be replaced.
There's something that's valuable of like seeing a human do it in front of you.
So James is still going to be around.
Come on, y'all.
Hey, man.
But yeah, things like farming, manufacturing, delivery, but as I said, also like what we call typically white collar work. I mean, it's probably some aspects of lawyering, obviously doctors, teachers. Imagine AI that is really able to know your kid and able to give a lesson prescribed specifically for your child that helps them learn and grow and is able to register when they don't understand and know exactly what to do in that point. So, he's suggesting this is going to lead to better work-life balance. But others in responding to this have said you could see how inequity could deepen because imagine people losing their jobs because now those jobs are automated. That always happens. These kind of shifts have happened throughout human history, industrial revolution, even the rise of the internet. Think about some of the jobs. I remember pressing 0 for the operator. I'm old enough for that, right? To get a call transferred or something like that. Right?
Who would you like to call?
So people lose jobs, just transitions all the time, and you have to learn new skills, et cetera. However, I think this is at a scale unlike anything we've seen in human history. I mean, I think he's suggesting within 10 years, you could see this happen. It brings, I'm just curious what you guys think about it. I mean, this brings in a lot of just sort of questions about like what's our worth, what's our value, what does it mean to be human? What does it look like? What does it look like when people are, I don't think he's wrong in this. I could easily see more haves and more have-nots. The gap between those really, really wide.
I do think an emerging question, just like it's happened with marriage, it's happened with gender, I think it will happen with humanity. What does it mean to be human? I think that question is going to be ubiquitous pretty soon. And there are going to be fights, if there aren't already, like real legal battles to redefine what humanity means. So I think a lot of people are talking about the work, and AI is going to shift work, but I think it's going to start to shift even the way we think about, again, there are robots who have been granted citizenship already. And so if not in those places, I just think obviously there's a lot more to say, but the question about what does it mean to be human in the same way, marriage and gender, I think that one's coming too.
Yeah. And I think this is a topic, we have a friend of ours in our church. I want to definitely bring her on. She's very much in this field. I want to hear from her on this, but just to open the conversation, I do think, at least from a Christian perspective, just the importance of embodied presence I think matters. And this is me. I'm not I use AI. Like I'm there. So this is not me sort of like pushing and saying I don't want AI anywhere around us. I'm saying I want to use AI for the things that is really good for. But hopefully, my best use of AI helps make it easier for me to be present and embodied with other people. I want to use it in those ways. I think just the significance of being in the same room at the same time with people, those kind of human relationship dynamics, the kind of the ways in which you learn to read people, to understand people, the ways in which certain things happen that are unique when, imagine everyone is cheering for the same thing, singing the same thing. All those type of things are really special and powerful. And I think that if anything, I want to sort of elevate why those things are important. Again, it's almost that sense of incarnation, right? That Jesus comes is embodied with us. God could have done a lot of other ways. And I think the Bible sort of builds on that sense of there's a lot of things we can do. There's the end of 2 John talks about John saying, hey, there's more things I could write you, but for my joy to be complete, I need to see you. I'm paraphrasing
I need
here.
to come to you.
And so just this distinction between the two. Because AI girlfriends are coming, AI friends.
Those are already here.
They're already here. And I think we want to say I see why people do those things. Those things can never really replace what it is. Some of the things that are really important about actually being in community with one another that only comes through being together on a regular basis.
Yeah, I'll just say real quick. There's a lot more that can be said on this particular topic, but Bill Gates said it. I think we should pay attention and listen. This man predicted and said things about the pandemic 5-10 years before it happened. I know we saw them clips when, so I'm just saying, if he's saying something, I'm gonna take a listen. You know what I'm saying? So that's all.
I would say there is something significant about human connection. That C.S. Lewis quote about friendship being born at the moment when one person says to another, "What, you too?"
Yeah.
I thought no one but myself. Like I thought I was the only one, right?
Yeah.
I do think there's something significant about that I don't think machines can replace. The idea of things can't be replaced will change.
Yeah.
People will make arguments and say, no, it's completely replaced it. I don't do any of this stuff that I used to do anymore. But I do think there are other things coming where it's just like there's something really special about, again, being present and the sort of IRL in real life versus URL.
Yeah.
Being like websites and stuff like that. I do think people are already, and you see this, there's a movie, Ready Player One, and the idea of like how important being in real life and present with people was. I think that's already starting to reemerge after the pandemic. I think that's going to be a thing that continues.
Right. We're not just bodies.
Underscore.
We're bodies. We have souls, right? And I think at a spiritual dimension, there's something. Computer does not have a soul, and so that dimension of it, I think, is essential towards us understanding why part of what makes being together at the same time in the same places so powerful, so important, and important to continue to build on.
That's true.
One last thing, just to throw in a fun thing.
Rapid fire minute, because that's about how much time we got.
Well, just one thing for the rapid fire minute. Are you guys seeing this? Was it 100 gorillas versus 100 men?
No. One gorilla versus 100 men.
Yeah.
Okay, one gorilla versus 100.
Who you got?
I saw some simulation of 100 gorillas versus 100 men. That's probably really easy to. It went the way you thought.
Yeah. No competition. So we're not talking about
gorillas
that
destroyed them, but
Yeah.
one silverback gorilla.
Silverback.
And you should look up how big they are, right? How huge they are versus 100 men.
gorillas ain't no punks out here, so
They're strong enough to lift approximately 4,000 pounds.
Yeah. So
I think they weigh almost a ton.
So who would win? That's a question. Who you got?
So first, I just want to say this real quick. What type of men are we talking about? Are we talking about small men? Are we talking about MMA, UFC? Are we talking about Kimbo Slice? Are we talking about Brock Lesnar's?
No.
What type of 100 men are we talking about?
A mix of men. So some just random 100 guys.
Again, here's the problem. If you try to idealize one, you got to idealize the other, right? So people try to be like, oh, well, if you put 100 men out there, you put the best and the strongest and the fastest and I go, okay, you got to do that with the gorilla too.
You're right. Just right.
If the men are in their ideal state, the gorilla's in their ideal state, and I haven't been next to one of them.
10 times their body weight.
But I'm like, them joints.
Yeah.
A man is not if he gets hit by a gorilla or even bumped by a gorilla, he's not falling over.
Yeah, he's crumbling.
He's tumbling
if you get,
over and over.
If someone gets smacked by a gorilla, like their head is coming off.
Maybe just I'll be the one who did this. I mean, it is 100 guys, and so. They're all bum rushing.
The guys matter though, bro. Like the guys matter. When you say just random 100, I'm like, I mean, yeah,
we have to. Again, we have to set parameters on this, and so I mean, we can talk about what's if it's 100 athletes or whatever. But
are we talking like 100 Mike Tysons?
No, let's just do 100 average guys, like 100 people in Phoenix.
Just not happening.
If they all bum rush him,
Phoenix,
not happening.
Phoenix or Chicago? I mean, is it different?
Southside Chicago.
That's why this matters. That's why this matters, Doc. From the South Side of Chicago,
okay. So we're saying no for 100 people from Phoenix, but 100 guys from Southside Chicago, I think they got a chance. Because I don't care the first
20 are done.
We should just care the rules.
If they got a chance,
we should just end on. We should end on that.
But I don't care about the rules. But some of them are sneaking a few weapons in there, right? So
see, that's the parameters. That's the question. Is it just bare hands, 100 men, or is it all no holds barred, and they bringing in the switches and everything?
I mean, of course, like if they bringing in weapons and he ain't got nothing.
But if there's no weapons, but I do think, I mean, first 10, 20, 30, but as they all pile on them.
Again, I'm just saying, like, the gorilla itself weighs almost a ton, I think.
It's
maybe poking in the eye.
I'm just saying, if the gorilla itself weighs a ton.
Gorillas are strong enough to lift.
No, how much does it weigh?
I'm going to tell you. Lift approximately 4,000 pounds, which is 10 times their normal weight.
4,000.
So 4,000 pounds.
So they're only 400 pounds?
Yeah. Bam, bam.
I don't know if that's...
No,
anyways,
4,000.
Let's call it 4,000 pounds, 100 men. Like, to get to 4,000 pounds... They have to each weigh what?
That's a lot. They have to. Yeah.
They got to weigh a lot.
Yeah. Well,
they have to. Yeah. The weight.
And again, like they got to get close to it first. And again, 20 of them losing their heads. I'm just
instantly 20 of them are gone. So you talking about. I'm just saying if they have a chance,
and you got more men who ain't got nothing on them,
and that's conditional.
Watching these,
if they have a chance,
I'm just saying watching these men's bodies just crumple. The big guys,
they out.
I'm gonna go
big guys. I mean, like they rocked up.
I'm gonna go with the gorilla. I think the gorilla.
I'm just saying. I'm
gonna go with the silverback gorilla.
Them joints is.
But this is helpful information.
But people from Chicago. But listen, the people in Chicago, y'all got a chance.
You got a chance.
You got.
Out of anyone in the world.
I mean, don't let nobody fool you. Just don't find yourself in the octagon with the silverback gorilla. That's what I'm gonna say.
Big facts. Well, we're gonna end it on that one.
Yes,
we're gonna end it on that one, man. As we always say, love God, love people. We are out. Peace.